Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk, exploring the issues affecting all of our lives. I'm your host, Austin Harris. It's been said that coaches have a profound impact on student athletes, schools, and communities, and through their efforts touched thousands of lives. Well, today it is our pleasure to explore one such Caymanian legacy who has, during his over quarter century, first as a player and then as a head coach and technical director, been leaving his mark on a number of young Caymanian football players across all three of our islands. It is our pleasure to welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Sports, local Caymanian icon, Coach Gillie Seymour. Coach, I want to say what a pleasure it is to have you here on today's show, and thank you for joining us here on Let's Talk.
And it's a pleasure to be here with you too.
Indeed, sir. Yeah. Well, you know, we normally like to get to know a little bit about our guests, and I think in your case, we will begin with the name. What I know you as, what I think the community know you as, Coach Gillie. Gillie actually isn't the name your mother and father gave you, but it is, like throughout the football scene, it was a nickname that kind of stuck. So talk to us a little bit about how Gillie came about.
Okay, my dad came from Belize.
Okay.
And his name is Ernie Gill.
All right.
But my mom named me Ernie, but they gave me the family last name of Seymour. But my grandmother, knowing my father well, and seeing me run around the yard, would always say, Ernie Gill, come here. You look just like your father. You're just like your father. You're everything like your father.
Okay, all right. So, and that's how Gillie came about.
And then my friends used to call me nicknames like Fish Gill and Gillfish, and we used to have fights over that and throwing the gills out when we were cleaning the fish, and see, do I look like the gills? And then they dropped the fish and start calling me Gill.
All right, all right.
And then that stuck.
And that stuck.
And then later on in my life, I realized it was unique. And then Miss Alice Anderson, I used to work with her. And when I was going to high school, like go there, work at the gas station, and do stuff to make a little, a couple of dollars going to school. Mm-hmm. And my friends would come by and ask for Gillie. And Miss Alice said, his name is not Gillie, his name is Gillie. And you all don't come back here calling him no Gillie, because his name is Gillie. And then it became Gillie.
Okay, all right.
So that was Gillie, and Miss Alice Anderson, she's the one saying.
Made sure that people pronounced it properly.
As Gillie.
All right, all right.
And I stuck to that too, because I couldn't let Miss Alice down.
No, not at all, not at all. I know the lady in which you speak of.
Yeah, Mr. Wild Anderson, not the whole family. Then we couldn't let them down.
Wonderful people, wonderful people. Salt of this earth. Let's talk about your football career. As I understand it, you first began playing football, organized football, that is, with a junior team called Rovers back in the day. Talk to us about your early years as a football player.
Yeah, well, I used to attend Truefield School, so there wasn't much football there. The football went on in the government school. So my friends from the government school, like Raina Miles and Clarendon Miles and those guys, they had a junior team. So they invited me to come and play with them. And when I went, I couldn't play too good.
Oh, really?
No, I didn't know the game that good, because like I said, we never really played much football at Truefield School. But then they put me into the defense, because those days the worst players go into the defense.
Okay.
But I graduated from defense to midfield, and then from midfield to become a striker, and then from that for playing 15 years for the Cayman Islands as a striker.
Wow, wow, that's excellent. Now, who were some of the other notable names in Cayman that perhaps may have also been getting their start, and who maybe were on the team of Rovers with you at that time?
But like I said, I remember guys like David Whitaker, Raina Miles, Clarendon Miles, guys like that,
Yeah, indeed. Were the Rovers the only team you played with, or
no? After that, I went into another team called the Lynx. Okay, it's a junior team, with Floyd Borden and Donald McLaughlin and those guys. And we were sponsored by Mr. Mike Simmons from Mango Tree. And we I can remember, like I said, when we got to the age of 17, that we all started to get licensed. We could borrow his car on the weekends, but we had to clean it, make sure we take care of it, and don't mash it up.
All right,
so we had to be good drivers.
Yes.
We couldn't speed.
Okay, all right.
There was the rules of discipline, and that's the only way we could get it. Even to go to our graduation, he lent us his car so we could go to the graduation. So.
How old were you when you first started playing football?
I was about 10.
10?
10 was 10.
Really?
Yeah.
And when you joined the Rovers team, how old was that?
Like I said, that's when I started playing, on that age. And then I went on from then. I played in the junior league for like 7 years.
Okay.
Because when you reach 17, then there's no more junior league.
Right.
You go straight to the men's league. And then I played for Saprissa.
Uh-huh.
Then with Dana Hugh and Lenny Hugh and they were in Kirk Tibbetts and all those guys was involved in Saprissa. Tony Dixon, so I and Skinner Donalds, Errol Cole, those guys. I played along with them.
Did you say Kurt Tibbetts? Kurt Tibbetts?
Yeah, just
really
good football.
What position did he play?
He was a striker, man, big and strong up front, man. Kick the ball hard.
Wow! All right, I learned something new there. That'll be a conversation.
I think he also played for a team called the Blocks too. They're sponsored by Flowers Blocks. They were named Blocks. I think Kurt played for that team too.
Okay, I did not know that. What I did know though, that your football career blossomed. You, beyond a shadow of a doubt, were a natural player, and that talent over the years elevated you to represent the Cayman Islands at the national team level. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you and I chatted once upon a time stating that you were a member of the best national team ever assembled, that of course being the 1983 to 1986 Cayman national football side. Talk to us about those years and why, in your humble opinion, that was the best team ever assembled in the Cayman Islands.
One, they were all skillful. Two, they were in top physical condition. Because to play for Coach Ed Wilson, you had to be fit. First thing you had to do was endurance running. And when you're doing endurance running, you had to run behind Ronson, Haylock, and Olsen Bush. And if you could keep up with Ronson, Haylock, and Olsen Bush, you could make the team. So when you do the 2-mile endurance run, you're going through the dike roads. And you got to have stamina to stay with Ronson and Olsen Bush. And they were the midfield generals. They ran the midfield. And they said to be in the midfield, you got to have stamina. Well, Olsen and Ronston had stamina and skill.
Mm-hmm. When did you know that whilst playing was certainly an area that you were proficient at, when did you know that it was coaching that certainly would be your guiding light and the direction you would take in your later years?
Well, actually, in my early days playing the national team, I didn't play with that team. I was playing with like Reynard and those guys. And, we were a mixed team with, some expatriates from the island and stuff. And we went on to Belize like in 1975. Mm-hmm. First came a national team that toured away from the island, went to Belize. And even we had a police player named Ronald Young who played on that team also. We went down there. It was a charter that the Ballaramas had put on, mm-hmm. And we went there and we played. And then we went back again in 1976 and played in Belize again, mm-hmm. And it was a good team. But being along with Reynard and playing with Reynard, who was our star player.
This is Reynard Moxham.
Reynard Moxham, right? He was our star player.
Who at the time, he was Cayman's first professional football player.
Yeah, he became our first professional footballer because he played, I think, for short stint in the NASL, which was known as the North American Soccer League. Mm-hmm. And he played, I think, was a team in Toronto or something like that, but he just stayed for a while. Then he came back home because it was too cold.
Quite right.
Yeah, it's difficult to adapt to the cold, And then I think he opened a sports store with, I think it was like Kent Rankin, Bigger Rankin. Mm-hmm. They opened a sports store.
I remember it.
And then
on 4th Street.
Then someone was putting this, these people were putting this youth team together to host a team that was coming from Miami, Region 191. And Reynard calls me up and said that these people need a coach to coach this team, down at the Annex. And like I said, at that time we were just on the national team, playing with our club team, Interpol, and playing good football, right?
Yes.
And I said, Reynard, what do I know about coaching? He said, Gil, I can't go. I can't leave the shop because I have nobody to take care of the shop. Mm-hmm. So I said, he said, just go and teach them what you know.
Right.
Do you know how to play football? Do you know how to pass? You know how to dribble? You know how to shoot? Go and teach it to them. So I went down there and found Miss Christine Guilford, Mr. David Guilford, Mr. Richard Marshall and his wife, I think Mr. Michael Adberger, and if I'm not mistaken, Peter Golding. Mm-hmm. They were there with these young, 12-year-old boys. They wanted me to coach, and that's where we started.
All right. Now, I would imagine, like your football career as it began, you stated you weren't, much of a football player, but certainly you learned. You went from defense all the way to striker. As you just admitted, you knew nothing about coaching, but others had confidence in you, and certainly you had the knowledge of your own skill and how to play the game, and certainly it was a simple matter of passing that on. But surely along your road as head coach and technical director, you must have had some mentors. You mentioned Renard Moxham being, I guess, perhaps the reason you first became a coach. Were there other persons that were instrumental in developing the skills that we know today as Coach Gillie?
Vincent Chung, as a coach, Coach Chung was brought to the Cayman Islands as our first technical director. He was brought in by Alan Moore, who was the president at the time. And at that time, we were preparing a team to play a team from Jamaica called Hilaire. And when they came to the island, they wanted to bring him by my training session right at the prep school, lower prep school on Walker's Road. And he told them he was not going to come unless I invited him. And they asked him why. He said, we bringing him in as the technical director. Why are you not going? He said, if I don't invite him, he will not come. So I invited him. He said, that's the respect I had for you. That's why. I said, you have to invite me. That's why he told me. He said that he respected me because when he came here, he said he heard I was the only one that would take a set of youth and coach him. Nobody else was coaching.
Yeah. Now, is it true that when Winston Chung passed away, again, another icon in the football scene in the Cayman Islands, you were coaching a team
the
at that time?
The under-20 national soccer team at the under-20 World Cup qualifiers in Bradenton, Texas.
In Texas, so you were overseas.
Overseas.
When you got the news that your mentor and friend, Coach Winston, had passed away. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that had to have a profound impact on you, and certainly, your job at that time of coaching that team. Tell us about that time in history, and how difficult was that?
It was difficult because it was hard for me to even go to coach that day. And my assistant coaches were Lee Ramon and Colin Duggaroo. And my son, Antoine Seymour, was the manager. And I told them, they must coach the team. I can't. And they said, no, you have to coach. And I went into the room and I stayed in there for a while. The boys went out and warm up and came back in. And then I said, okay, I'll go if you all give me 1 minute of silence for Winston Chung. So they asked the CONCACAF people to give a minute of silence for him. And we went out to play against Guatemala. Mm-hmm. At that time, the CONCACAF people was thinking that Guatemala will trash the Cayman Islands by 10 goals. We drew 2-2.
Wow. Wow.
And should have been given a penalty at the end that was denied of us that could have possibly make us win the game.
Really? Really? Wow. Well, I believe we had, I think we have some video of that as well, which we're going to share with our audiences. Yeah! So at the time you were coaching the under-20 team, your icon and friend Winston Chung had just passed away. You struggled about whether or not you would be able to coach that game, but you did in the end go out and coach, and certainly it turned out to be perhaps one of the most notable games of your coaching career. Whilst there were many of them, but certainly a win against a Guatemalan team at that time, which were the expected powerhouses, going up against a team like the Cayman Islands that they were supposed to.
They're founding members of CONCACAF.
Right.
And the CONCACAF representative said to me when he was coming back in, he said, you and your team exceeded all expectations CONCACAF had of you. And I said, what do you mean? He said, we thought you guys were going to be trashed.
But we came out and drew 2-2 with them. And there was a time in that game, the closing moments of that game, if memory serves correctly,
it was in the closing moment,
where there was a foul, a blatant foul in the 18-yard box.
My forward beat the goalkeeper. The commentator said that the goalkeeper made a good tackle, but he didn't touch the ball because Kian pushed the ball away from him.
Yes.
He played Kian. He took Kian away inside the box. if you can get it up close, you'll see.
Yes,
But it's okay.
And that was the time before VAR, wasn't it?
Yes.
Before you could
Yeah,
go to the booth and take a look and see what really happened.
Yeah, those during the tournaments, they didn't really use the VAR. The VAR is for the bigger game with the bigger bucks, you know.
Well, I take your point, but certainly it was one of those occasions where, had that penalty been allowed, Cayman could have walked away with a victory over Guatemala, which would have upset certainly the region. No one would have been expecting that. And I think that is a credit to you during that time, which was, again, as we mentioned, very difficult. Football has been your life. You are versed.
I was talking about mentors. One man name that I really wanted to really mention, I got to mention every time I talk about Coach Young, is this man, is Mr. Danny Yu. Well, his brother, Mr. Lenny Yu, was inspirational in my life too, but Danny was like a mentor.
Okay.
Because Danny, like, he always talked to me, he treated me like a son. So I was always go by his gas station and sit and talk with him, and he was always teach me how to go down the road, you know, and do things that was good, you know, and stuff like that. So Mr. Donahue was a serious mentor in my life that a lot of people don't know about, but I want to say that.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you for that, and I'm sure, obviously, his family. Thank you for remembering him. These are important persons, and they touch your lives, and they are the ones you certainly give credit to.
And my first coach was Skinner Donalds.
Skinny Donalds.
He used to be here. He used to work as a pool. Skinner Donalds. I think he was over in Florida now.
Okay.
That was my first coach, and I was born on his birthday.
All right. Now, as I mentioned before, you are well versed in the practical aspects of football, obviously from your player days. That experience that you bring to the pitch based on your years going through the ranks. But you are also equally well versed in the theory or academic aspects of the game as a result of various seminars and studies and education and courses that you've been on throughout the world. Maybe, well, we don't have time to list all of them, but maybe talk to us about some of the academic training you have benefited from over the years.
Well, the first one is my first course that was taken over by Coach Vincent Chung, chaperoned me to Trinidad and Tobago in 1988 and attended FIFA World Coca-Cola World Youth Academy, which teaches you how to coach children in a 2-year age difference, under 6, under 8, under 10, under 12, up to under 18 and 20. Mm-hmm. And you follow this manual, and everything that it tells you how to coach a child at a certain age is so true. You know, who's the most important person to the 6-year-old? Who's the most important person to the 8-year-old, to the 10-year-old? You know, and what kind of training you should give to those players? Which skill is the most important?
Yes. I understand there was an opportunity afforded to you to actually study at a university to get formal qualifications as a coach and technical director. But something happened, and that caused you to not be able to take up that opportunity. But to ensure that that opportunity was not lost entirely, you volunteered someone else to take your place. Maybe tell us and share with our audiences that story.
Yeah, well, I did a course here at the community college, a 1-year physical education course at the community college. It made me eligible to attend college. And at the time, Coach Young was here. He was bringing in college coaches from abroad. We had contact with a guy here by the name of Ray Wells. And Ray was inviting players over to Andrew College in Columbus, Georgia, to come to his team. I mean, I actually went there with a group of boys looking scholarships. And at the time I went there, I was still playing, and I was still in good condition because I was playing with the Strikers at the time, and like I said, still training well and everything. And when we got there, they were doing all indoor first, and then at the end they had a big game. And when they put up the big game, Ray asked me if I wanted to play. So I put on the boots and I went out there and I played. At the end of the game, and Ray was calling all the players inside the room to offer them scholarships, he asked me about myself. He said, "What about you, Gillie?" He said, "I know that you did the course at the community college," because we talked a lot before. And he said that, that I could come to the school to the college there, finished my college degree there, and I also helped him coach. And he said that the directors came out to watch the game. They were going to add 10 yards onto the field because I was so fast. They said it was going to give me more space to run.
Okay, all right.
But anyhow, he offered me the scholarship, and it was like I need to still find some money, you know. So when I came home, I had twin boys. My twin boys were just born.
Wow.
And it was hard for me to leave them to go away.
Yeah.
You know, and I was trying to get the help that I needed, not just for me to go to school, but also to take care of them while I was going to school. And that's the help I couldn't get.
Right.
So I decided I'm going to stay and take care of my children. And I'm not going to leave them, right? And one of my players, Richard Flores, came looking for me. And the other boys who was going off to school was on his team, Yobo Rangers, and he wanted to go. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, Coach Gillie, Ray's gone to Lindsey Wilson in Kentucky. Bradley Huff is still at Andrew College. And he says there's only one scholarship left, and it belongs to Ernie Seymour from the Cayman Islands. Mm-hmm. And the one how you can get it is if you can give it up. So he said, my mom will make the phone call, overseas call, to let Bradley know if you know I could get your scholarship. And I drove to Mr. Julia's house, and we made the call. And I told Bradley to give my scholarship to Richard Flores because I didn't want to lose it.
I think that is heartwarming on a number of levels. You know, you've just given birth to your first sons, twins. Challenge then was, do I raise my family or do I go to school? Many would say it's a no-brainer. We know the answer to that question before it's asked. You chose to be a father. But rather than lose that scholarship opportunity altogether, you gave it to someone in my generation to ensure that the next generation had that opportunity.
That was one of the first players that I started coaching.
Yeah, that's incredible. We talked about some of your more memorable moments as a coach, and without a doubt, I think the 2019 Under-20 game against Guatemala that we spoke about has to feature in that memorable highlight reel. But I think before that, 2015, you were coach of, was it the Under-15s?
The Under-15, which was the same team.
The same team that played in 2019.
Against Guatemala, because at the time they were Under-15.
Right. And that same team, as I understand it, were the only team in history, is the only team. Historically, fact, the only Cayman national side to take a medal. To
win a medal in CFU.
The Caribbean Football
Union competitions.
Tell us about that game and certainly the performance of that strong squad.
Yeah, well, we started selecting those boys first from primary school, all the better players from the primary school, you know, and then we started bringing them together and training them on Saturday mornings. We had coaches coming to the annex, just working on the basic fundamentals and stuff, you know, teaching them all the basic stuff that they need to play the game, you know. And then when it came to the Under-15 competition, we were going to have a competition here. It was going to be the CONCACAF Under-15 competition which we had held previously. Mm-hmm. It was won by Honduras. And this one was going to be huge, you know, with Brazil and England and all those teams coming in. And then the thing happened with Jeff them, and it was just jerked. CONCACAF just jerked everything from the Cayman Islands. Nothing was happening with the Cayman Islands in FIFA at the time. Mm-hmm. And the team was getting ready to go to play in this tournament. And the coaches that were selected to take them said they didn't have the time to take them over to this tournament in St. Martin. And then they called me up and asked me if I would take the team. And I decided, my son actually called me, and I decided I would take the team because we always wanted the team. We were already working with them on Saturday mornings. And I took the team, and we started training for this tournament in St. Martin. And the first thing I told him, I said, I'm like the Brazilians. You got to start with your conditioning work. You got to get fit. Mm-hmm. You want to play good. You want to last long in the game. You got to get fit. And that's where we started building that team. And that team went on to St. Martin, to the tournament. And we won our group over in Angola. We won all 3 games. We won 9 points, undefeated. Wow. Then we came back to St. Martin and played Antigua. In the quarterfinals, we defeated them 3-1. And then we ended up playing Dominican Republic in the semifinals, and we lost 1-0 to them by a penalty. And then we went on to the third place playoff, back again against St. Lucia, and we defeated St. Lucia for the third place medal.
I have to ask, Coach Gillie, and again, you've been a part of the football landscape for over a quarter century. Are our best years in football at the international level behind us? Are they stories only good for nostalgia when we remember, 83 to 86, when we remember Yobo Rangers and, you're under 15 and you're under 20, teams that today still hold the record for bringing back a medal for the Cayman Islands. We haven't seen that kind of victory at the international level for, well, a long time. And I have to ask, are our best years of football in Cayman behind us, or is there still a ray of sunshine, still a little magic left to be seen from Cayman football?
Still still a ray of sunshine. What happened back there, we got to build on. But we got to remember, because the young players here don't know their heroes, don't know their past players. Like in Brazil, the players know Pele, they know in Argentina, they know Maradona. In England, they know Bobby Moore, you understand?
Yeah.
Here, the kids don't know about Richard Hugh. The same guys that was in that team, Ronson Haylock, Olsen Bush, Lever Moon, David Whitaker, who scored the goals against Orange War, Paul Ramon, Antonio Smith, So, but we got to build on it. And let me tell you, I'm still working in the camps, the soccer camps, and I still work with kids around the island. And we got some very good, talented players coming. Mm-hmm. But what we got to do is to find out what works good for us and what we need to do to go to the next level.
Yeah.
It's not that the talent is not there. Also, last night at the West Bay camp, I have a boy down there who, if you see him, you can say that's our Lionel Messi.
Really?
And he have one, as they would say years ago, he have one wicked left foot on him.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So we can talk about it like that. And then I could talk about a lot of other talented boys that I know that we got coming up, but we just got to make sure that we continue to build on it, and we got to focus on the grassroots.
Yeah.
We got to get back to the grassroots and start building the basic fundamentals, and the local kids need to be paid a lot more attention to.
Yes.
The ones who's what they would say is a liability, as a possibility that could go the other way.
Yes.
We kind of start to lose the focus on those kids. We need to put a little more attention.
And how important is it, not only for teams, as you're under 15, which grew into the under 20 team that played together for 4 years, if not longer, but together, and that knowing what the other player is going to do before they do it is as important to the game as is conditioning and natural ability. But likewise, how important is that exposure at the international level for the development of future Cayman footballers?
The exposure is great, because exposure also makes you see what you're going up against, and what the others are doing.
Yes.
And then, the players also build a camaraderie. It's amazing to see how these players gel together, how they become friends, and they all want to go the same way. They all want to go to the next level. It's very educational when you expose the kids up to a higher level of the game.
Indeed. Well, your formal coaching career came to an end in April of this year with the Department of Sports after, I think it's 26 years.
26 years I worked
with
in the department.
The Department of Sports. You were, interestingly enough, you were not only a head coach and technical director of football teams, camp director for a number of summer camps, but you also taught physical education in the schools. 26 years of leaving your mark on countless Cayman lives. What's next for Coach Gillie?
Well, I'm continuing to do my coaching, because, like I said, I'm still actively involved in my club. I'm still actively involved with the field marking, which I've been doing for many, many years at the international level and also at the local, domestic level. And I guess my exercise by doing my field marking keep me in shape. But like I said, I'm going to continue going until I physically can't go anymore, working with the youth of the Cayman Islands and sharing my knowledge with them. I'm not going to make my knowledge go to waste. As long as I'm alive, I'm going to continue. Like I said, I just came back from the BRAC, attending the soccer camp over there with the kids. I'm at West Bay this week working with the kids. I'm going to continue, like I said, until I physically can't go anymore.
Fantastic. Speaking of your Your domestic football team, the Cayman
Athletic Sports Club.
Cayman Athletic Sports Club, they have been arguably one of the more successful teams in league football.
In the youth football division especially.
And
also in the men's football, we did well also.
What are some of the keys to that success?
Again, building camaraderie, building a family, bringing the kids together and getting them to be friends, and growing together as friends and learning the game. The game is built on 4 pillars, and the physical, the technical, the tactical, and the psychological pillars. So you got to combine all of those things and build them with it. And they need to understand it, and you got to educate them. You got to educate them about the laws of the game, because the game played by laws. You have 17 laws which were written at Cambridge. Like I said, most people don't know that the game is named association football, because in England it was 2 kinds of football: rugby football and association football. And to distinguish the difference, that's why they gave them those names. So the name soccer derives from the abbreviation of association, which is ASSOC, A-S-S-O-C. That's where soccer come from. And the English was saying soccer a long time before the Americans, but people think it was the Americans who gave it the name soccer. But soccer is to distinguish the difference from Australian football, from gridiron football, which we say that's football, and half the time you're running with the ball in your hands. But then to know that now in the modern days, people don't say association football, they say soccer.
Yes.
But that's the official name, association football.
Again, skilled in both the practical as well as the theoretical aspects of the theory of the game. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he may be retired, but certainly far from tired. And I imagine this is not the last we will see of Coach Gillie or hear of Coach Gillie. Coach, I want to thank you for being our guest. I want to thank you on behalf of our audiences, on behalf of some of the parents of the young Caymanians that you have mentored over the years, that you have helped to develop, and who are obviously out there in the world today doing great things. Thank you on their behalf for your dedication, time, and effort. An opportunity for some closing remarks.
Well, like I said, thanks again for having me. Thanks again for giving me the opportunity to be on this show with you. And for someone who I grew up with too, because we were neighbors down the road.
So we were, once upon a time.
Again, thanks for everything. And continue the good works that you're doing.
Thank you so very much. Coach Gillie, ladies and gentlemen, a national, local icon, and certainly has left his mark on football here in the Cayman Islands. As always, we hope you have enjoyed today's episode as much as we have. If you did, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and feel free to leave any comments you wish, and we will certainly have an opportunity to respond to them. Please tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. for another episode of Let's Talk, exploring the issues affecting all of our lives. I'm your host, Austin Harris. Until next time.